OrangeMT.com. This is a 14-foot raft trailer with the 15-inch tires and wheels on it. Let's go take a look at this real quick. This is our 14-foot. It is a non-tilt model, and right now the tilt is not available in the 14-foot length. So if you're looking for a 14-footer, you can get it in the 12, you can get it in the 10, but tilt is not available in the 14-foot model. This is an under spare mount, meaning it doesn't have the spare mounted up on the tongue. So that is an option though for this model. So if you wanted the top mount spare, you could, and it would just sit flat right up in here. So it'd be right in there. But this one doesn't have that. But let's take a look real quick. You've got a winch and a roller bar on the back for your raft. It's got a 20-foot strap, so that's going to go a good, say, 3 feet beyond. Let's see, this is 14, 17. Yeah, should at least go 3 feet past the back, so you'll be able to latch on to the front of that raft to either use an undersling or use another rope. Some people you make a Y rope and undersling their raft to lift it up, or they use the D-ring if they're trusted. But if you got a 16-foot raft, it's a pretty heavy raft, so you got to make sure you have a good D-ring on the front if you're going to use the winch on that, or build a harness that goes to your frame and you go under the boat. That way it lifts by the bottom. You can see there's a Dexter ezlube axle underneath there. That's got the grease zerk inside that dust cap right there, and you can just pop off the rubber grommet, and well, bam, there is your grease zerk, and you can pump your axles full of grease without taking the wheel off. Dexter, made in Kansas City. They're the best axles that are out there. There's some cheaper brands that have really awful reviews online, and when you're looking at reviews for a trailer, the one thing you want is a good axle. I mean, you don't want to be stuck on the road with a bad axle someday, so use the Dexter ezlube. That's what we use. We got LED lights on these. We started LEDs in 2018. You can see some of our older videos. A lot of the stuff is the same, except for now we use the LED lights. They're cheaper than they were originally, where they used to be like $70 a set. Now they're down to $20 a set. So if you did break one, you would be able to find a new one. All our wires we use the heavier gauge of wires underneath there. There's thinner wires that are available, like on your Harbor Freight sets. They go through loops up there. We're all hand twisted, hand taped. We build them like the Amish, and we don't use the cheap wire, because we want a good wire that's going to last longer than the trailer is. You got this T-bar. What's that metal bar? Well, that's the T-bar. It unbolts from the underside of the trailer. There's 3 grade 8 bolts that are underneath there, and that T-bar lifts out of the deck, so you can change out your deck boards. If your deck boards warp really bad or break, or if they you just want to run through a sander or a planer, you can take these deck boards out. Sorry, there's sawdust and leaves on it still, but yeah, you can take the deck boards out and you can change out your deck boards. They just slide into the pockets in the back. You got a Schedule 80 pipe roller here. You can stand on this bar and it won't bend. It's kind of a rare piece. Actually, most of these are made in Korea. The metal is, because we just don't use Schedule that 80 in this size in America very often, because usually like your roll cages are made out of a thinner metal that can be bent. These we build. We like I said, we cough up the extra money to where everybody else is going cheaper, and it's like, how can I build this cheaper? We are looking at how can we build this better. We use a thicker metal there. We use a thicker metal tongue that's 3/16. Most people use an 1/8 inch. If it's bent metal, it's definitely 1/8 inch, because you can't bend this 3/16. That's something pretty substantial. And if you understand engineering, 50% thicker metal doesn't mean 50% stronger. It means 200% stronger, because it doesn't start to bend. And once it bends, it gives way. Kind of like a soda can. If you step on a soda can, it holds you up until for a second it starts to bend, and then it collapses. And that's why we use that thicker metal. And you can't paint inside tube steel. So like our paint doesn't get all the way up in there, and so it rusts from the inside out. So why not make it 50% thicker? That would definitely last 50% longer. And that's what's better about using a thicker metal. We use a full length 3-inch channel subframe. You have an option for a 4-inch channel subframe even on this one. And you see that washer right there? There's tie downs underneath the deck, so you can put your ratchet straps down there, and that way your ratchets don't rub on the sides. You can also use these stake pockets as well, and you can drop 2x4s in these stake pockets and build racks. So if you go fishing too much and your wife throws you out, you build some plywood on put a piece of plywood, put a piece of 2x4 in there, and then throw a tarp over the whole thing. You got something to haul all your furniture out when she throws it all in the front yard, you know? So, because you went fishing too much. That's just the way it is. There's a couple, like I said, they got the balancing stakes on the back. We don't call it a spare mount, but there's the balancing stakes and some extra washers down there if you want to tie up that spare on the bottom. You put it comes with the washers and the lock nuts. You just got to mount it up there. And that way you can safely store your spare underneath there. This is a 3,500 pound axle. Oh, I'm just putting a 600 pound raft on it. I don't need a 3,500 pound axle. Well, I'll tell you what, it's $20 more than the 2,000 pound axle. It's $20 more. It's got a bigger race. It's got a bigger bearing. You can haul 3 4-wheelers on this now because it has the weight capacity. You can, that's the difference. People are just too cheap. They want to put $2 in their pocket and build you a lesser quality product, and that's why they use a 2,000 pound axle. So anybody who's using a 2,000 pound axle, they just want to get your money and smile and wave as you drive away. But when you hit those big washboards, those big ruts, those big bumps, you hit a stump or something like that, you damage the 2,000 pound axle. That's why we use the 3,500 pound axle. We use leaf springs on there, not torsion axles. Well, torsion axles are so much nicer. Well, they're more expensive, yes, and they're not as strong, yes. Because if you look at a Jeep Rubicon, it's got leaf springs. If you look at a Ford F-350, it's got leaf springs. If you look at a Hyundai, it's got probably some kind of torsion axle. And that's what the difference is. That's why we use the leaf springs. They're tough as nails. It's got a shackle in the back. It swings back whenever you put extra weight on it. This has got the 15-inch tires and wheels on it versus the 13-inch tires and wheels. It gives it that 3,800 pound capacity on the tires, and that gets you actually more ground clearance between the ground and the axle. So when you're backing down into the river, if you're going over the top of rocks, if you're going through ruts or anything like that, you got more clearance between the ground and the axle with the 15-inch tires and wheel, as well as the bigger weight capacity, as well as less revolutions on the highway. So when you're going down the highway, that 2 inches of difference in height of the tire, it means so much more in revolutions. It's so many less revolutions. You get a longer bearing life. You get a longer tire life. So hell, if you want to build the best that there is what we want to do. That's it. If you look underneath there, there's a build number and a signature on each one of my trailers. That's because I'm not going to be around forever. I only build so many of these trailers every year, and my signature is on each one of them because, when I'm gone, these are my pyramids. These are the ones I hope that are running in 1,000 years. And somebody goes, I wonder who built that, and I wonder whose signature that is. And like I said, that's what it's about. It's about hand-picked quality, fruit stand prices. We sell them right here. You're buying it from the guy who builds it right here in Montana with Montana milled lumber. Lots of times it's locally Northwest steel too, so it's we get our steel from Pacific Steel, which is sold right here in Missoula, Montana. But it comes from various different steel mills all around. Some of it's here in the Northwest, and some of it's over like over in the Great Lakes region. But for the most part, you got American made axle, and that's some of the best that you can get right here. And like I said, I build them the best I possibly can. I don't want to shortchange you, but there's only so many I get every year. So if you want one, give us a call, 370-5466. That's 406-370-5466. We don't do any shipping to long distances away, but we do give some discounts if you're like coming from a long distance away. We can help you with the gas money or something like that if you're coming from like 3 states away or something like that. Because I got trailers on the Grand Canyon. I got trailers in Vermont. I've got trailers in Alaska, and we're in Montana, so that means people came from a long ways away to get a good product. I'm not just gloating, but I quit my other job working for other trailer manufacturers to build the best trailer I possibly could, and that's what we do here. And if you're interested in one, give us a call. There's only so many of these a year that come off the assembly line. There's some winter discounts. We also have veterans discounts as well. So if you're interested, make sure you tell us if you're a veteran, because we can set you up like that too. Thanks for tuning in, and like our video if you would. If you got a second there, click that like button. That gets YouTube to show it to people and let other people know about our trailers. Thank you.